What's up, everybody? My name is Daniel. I am the admin of all those JazzNation pages that you are following online through, through TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, MySpace, maybe, YouTube, the podcast channels, the Patreon page. All the links for these pages can be found in one simple spot. Just go to linktree.com/JazzNation News. Welcome into your Jazz Nation Daily Edition for Monday, June 19th, 2023. Well, let's just get caught up in some NBA news real quick, shall we? To start things off, of course, there's some big news coming out of the NBA. All-Star Bradley Beal being traded to the Phoenix Suns for Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, several second-round picks, and pick swaps. My first reaction to this deal is what a crappy deal for Washington. I'd be pissed if I was a Wizards fan. But then, of course, there's the Bradley Beal no trade clause thing. So he basically got to pick and choose where he wanted to go and things like that. The other funny thing about this trade that maybe some folks don't know about is that Bradley Beal's agent, his name is Mark Bartelstein. The CEO of the Phoenix Suns, his name is Josh Bartelstein. Not a coincidence, folks. That Mark is actually Josh's dad. So, I'm wondering if there's something going on there, right? I'm sure the NBA will look into that, but it's going to be interesting to see. I wonder. You never know. It could possibly something tampering-ish. Something comes down, and that trade just gets the X. It's not official yet. Like it's not everything's been official yet made by the NBA. So, shall see on that. The other kind of recent NBA news since last time we talked is on the latest episode of the Bill Simmons podcast. Bill Simmons himself says a reliable source told him, someone he trusts, says that Zion Williamson will be moved by Thursday. Of course, obviously this coming Thursday is the NBA draft. So that's kind of interesting news to hear. We shall see on that. Like I said, big week for the Jazz. It's finally here. The NBA draft is this Thursday. So I know a lot of folks are excited for that. I'm excited for that. Will the Jazz make any moves? Who are they going to draft? It's all finally coming up. And, I think by this point of the week, it seems like, we don't know, of course, for officially, but you would have to educatively guess that Jazz are probably done with most of their workouts at this point and are just kind of trying to figure things out. Today, though, there's some articles that came out that I thought I'd go over and update some folks on. A new article out of The Athletic written by James Edwards III, who covers the Detroit Pistons for The Athletic. In his article, he is stating that he believes the Detroit Pistons should look to move back in the draft and then gain some future draft picks in the trade, and then mentions two teams that he thinks would be perfect to trade with, one being the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the other, of course, being the Utah Jazz. And he suggests a trade with the Jazz. Pistons would trade the 5th pick to Utah. The Jazz would trade the 9th, 16th, and a future first-round pick to the Detroit Pistons. Now, to anyone that's been listening to my recent podcast and hearing me tweet and things like that, you know that I am all in on Cam Whitmore. I think out of the top 3 guys, he's the next level dude that's going to be good, and I think he should be number 1 on the Jazz draft board. And if this trade is available, I would do it. I would vote yes for that, because then you get a chance to get Cam Whitmore, who I believe can come in and help the Jazz right away. Easy for me to say. I'm all in on that. Now, of course, the future first round pick, it's hard to say. You probably want to put some kind of, if you can, put some kind of protection on it, if at all possible, and things like that. But, Justin Zanuck and Danny Ainge are smart. They're not going to let Detroit Pistons screw them over. And obviously they did a deal with them last year. Yeah, last year when they traded Bojan Bogdanovic to the Pistons and got Kelly Olynyk and all that back. So we shall see on that. Speaking of trades and trades ideas, I am going to be doing my final Jazz Nation podcast recording before the draft tomorrow with my assistant to the host, Mr. Will Wonder. And he, if you don't know, he's actually a Orlando Magic fan. So I'm going to come up with a trade that involves the Orlando Magic and the Jazz. So I've been kind of tinkering with that. If you think there's any trades that you think should do with that as far as trading with the Jazz and the Magic, let me know. Comments, or you can leave a comment in the YouTube video here, or just comments on the social media pages. But I've been kind of tinkering with an idea that I think in that. And That's kind of hard. I mean, obviously the Piston one here that gets you the 5th. Orlando's in the 6th. Also, it's come out that the Pacers are open to trading the 7th pick. So there are so many. If the Jazz want to move up, it's definitely available to them. Another thing that I wanted to mention, if this would involve the Jazz possibly needing to trade up if they want this guy, but Anthony Black. This is coming from a new Bleacher Report article that came out today. But basically, it's just saying kind of something I think we've all kind of already figured is that Anthony Black will not make it to number 10 for the Dallas Mavericks. I guess there's maybe some hope from the Mavericks camp or maybe Mavericks fans that he could fall to them. But they're saying there's absolutely no way he's getting past the Wizards at 8 or even to the Jazz at 9th. And I honestly don't even think he's going to make it past the Wizards at 8, even with the recent trade and whatever that's going on with the Wizards, and them totally rebuilding. I just don't see him making it past the 8th pick. So if the Jazz really like Anthony Black, and as far as I can tell, I just was mentioned before that the Jazz are probably done with their workouts. Obviously, the Jazz didn't release any information who they brought in for workouts and things like that, but just social media leagues, players saying stuff. Anthony Black was just in Utah at the end of this past week, Thursday or Friday, working out for the Jazz. So, they always say keep an eye on those guys that the teams bring in for their last workouts. So, who knows on that one? Very interesting on that. As far as the workouts thing too, by the way, I did a kind of a Q&A yesterday on my Instagram, and I brought up a couple times about my Cam Whitmore, that he's number 1 on my board and things like that. And something that I had mentioned, and I'll say it here, is that the Jazz, they worked out Cam Whitmore full well knowing that he is not going to be available to them at 9th pick, right? Kind of interesting. Another player that they worked out knowing that he wasn't going to be available to them in their range a couple of years ago was a Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell worked out for the Utah Jazz, and they knew full 100% knowing that he was not going to fall to them in their draft area. They liked what they saw. They moved up, got him. It worked out pretty well for them while he was here. So just saying that, it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, just expect to hear a lot of chatter this week and into the draft night, draft day, and all that about the Jazz, because obviously they have so many assets that they could possibly move around. Last thing that I've got written down is some kind of newer news. I mean, it's not so newer. It's kind of just, honestly, some of the news too is just kind of getting recycled around. It's like we've heard, we know, but this morning on Sports Center, Jonathan Giovanni of AKA, the Draft Express dude, said that the French guard dude that I'm not so big on, Bilal Coulibaly, is running up on draft boards and could be a top 10 pick. Again, we've already heard that. We feel that doesn't. I'll say this again. To me, I do not feel like this guy should be picked for the Jazz in the 9th spot. If the Jazz stay at the 9th spot, please do not pick him at 9. If they really like the guy, fine, trade up and get him in like a 12 to 16th range. I don't think he's going to be there for the Jazz at 16. So if they really like him, they're going to have to move up a little there. That's fine. Get him there. I feel better about that there. To me, he's going to be a project dude. He's going to take some time. First off, and I think we all know this. Anytime a player comes from overseas, comes to America, it's a whole new home for him. He's got to develop. He's a young guy, 19 years old, I believe. It's going to take some time for him to get used to that. And it's not. The same thing could be said about Wemby when he goes to San Antonio. It's going to take some time for him to develop on that one too. I think maybe he'll probably not be so hard. The thing that I don't think a lot of, especially Jazz fans, maybe know about is that the Bilal guy, he just barely got playing with the topper, the main event, you could say, the Wemby team. He was in kind of the minor league version, I guess you would call it, just keep it simpler, until like January or February this year. And then he got moved into the main thing. And I think it was just because of injuries. So I just am not sold on him. I just don't think he should be a top 10 pick. If you want him in the teens area there, 12, 13 to 16 range, go for it. That's a good chance to take I just think of when you're in that top 10, you want somebody that can help you on your team pretty good, like right away. And who knows though? The draft is a crazy thing. Look at Walker Kessler. He wasn't a top 10 pick, and hell, he's doing pretty good. So I don't know. Any of you guys watching right now or listening YouTubes that can leave a comment. So let's see if there's any. We actually do have a comment here. Clark is leaving me a comment saying, back trade proposal with Pistons, not worth the price tag for number 5. That's a lot of picks to give up. Well, I mean, it is there's tiers to these players. And, if I recall right from The Athletic, they did a great tier. I believe it was Sam, can't remember his last name, Sam with Vinci, something like that. But he did a tier, or he did a draft guide, excuse me, that I came out last week, and it's so good. If you have The Athletic, you should check it out. If you don't have The Athletic, it's like $2 a month. You should subscribe, especially right now for the draft. But anyways, he did like these tiers, and I believe Cam was up there. Obviously Wemby was in his own tier, and then it went like this next tier, and then these other guys. And you could just stay at the 9th if you want, but the talent that could be there compared to moving up to the 5th. I guess this is really just going to show if the Jazz are. This will be a good test to show where the Jazz, I guess, maybe want to go next year, right? If they do say they do make that trade with the Pistons and move up to 5, then they're being aggressive and want to win next year. They want to be in the playoffs. If they just stay, if they decline that trade and just stay at 9-16. Maybe that just shows that they're more comfortable with, getting younger guys, letting them develop, and next season could just be, hopefully we make the play in. If we don't, we gave it our best. So that's where we're at. Francisco is leaving a comment saying, why didn't we trade for Bill? Well, probably because of his contract. His contract is humongous. Also, again, he has a no trade clause in his contract, so he basically got to pick and choose where he wanted to go. And something tells me he has no desire to come to a young Utah Jazz team. Just my thought there. Anyways, draft week is here. I've said this a few times on the recent podcasts and stuff. I will not be in town for the NBA draft. I know, crazy, horrible timing to go on a trip, but I will be in San Jose on Thursday for a concert. I'm going to see Blink-182. I wish it wasn't on draft day. I totally wish so, but I'm telling you, when those tickets went on sale, it was just like a free-for-all. You just had to get them where you could, and it just happened to be that. But don't fear. Do not fear. The assistant to the host, Mr. Will Wonder, will be hosting a live stream on that day. It's actually going to be a D&D live stream, a little drinking and drafting. Oh, so you can join him for that. For those that are not watching the video, I just did one of those pointing things, and it was kind of funny, right? Anyways, so join him for that on Thursday. Draft starts at like 5:30, I believe. So he'll be there the whole stream, and he'll have some friends on there to talk with. He's going to make it available. I got to show him how to work this program, but he'll make it available that if you're watching and want to maybe get on the video and chat with him about things, he can set that up and do that for you. So make sure you join Mr. Assistant to the host of the JazzNation podcast, Will Wonder, this Thursday for the D&D live stream from JazzNation here. D&D, drink and draft. Don't drink and drive, though. What's up, Zachary, for the comment there. I appreciate that. Thanks to those that are watching the JazzNation Daily here. Again, this is something new that I'm trying to do. I've just decided, each day I should come on, and I have the time to do it, so why not? Just update folks on some updated NBA news and Jazz news. Right now, today, at this time, news for the Jazz is a little lackluster, so this is probably going to be the end of this podcast. No reason for me just to jabber on. But every day, I'm going to do this, except this week, obviously, once I go on my trip. So I'll do this for Monday, Tuesday. Probably I can wake up early Wednesday. Wednesday is when I fly out. So Wednesday morning, I can wake up and do it. But Thursday and Friday, there will be no JazzNation dailies. But again, check in Thursday for the live stream. It'll be available on our YouTube page, obviously, the Facebook page, and Twitter to live stream on there. And then you can comment during the draft, and then, we can always send you a link if you wanted to join in the broadcast at that time. But thank you guys so very much. Oh, before I go, one last thing, some good news, some news from us, I guess, me and the JazzNation side. Today, you should go to our Patreon page, Patreon, patreon.com/JazzNation. Check out our uncut, unedited, ad-free exclusive interview with Mr. Walker Kessler. But starting tomorrow, Tuesday, so if you go on our Patreon page, for those that don't know what Patreon is like a website where you can subscribe to things. It's a way to support artists and things like that. For our page on Patreon, it's $6 a month. I feel like that's a very affordable price. But starting tomorrow, that Walker Kessler interview will be available for free on our YouTube page, and the podcast pages. However, it's going to have ads on there, and then also there's going to be some questions, edited out. So I got to make it so that there's a reason to have it on the Patreon page, right? Otherwise, why would people subscribe? So watch it on the Patreon page. The interview is so good. I promise there are questions on there that we asked Walker that I've watched so many interviews with Walker Kessler. Some of these questions on there have never been asked to him. He is such an open book. He's so nice, such a nice guy, easy to chat with. Check it out. I promise. The folks that have already watched on there gave me some feedback. They said they loved the interview. It was great. So if you haven't already, please, please, please help support us here at the Jazz Nation. If you've ever wanted to be like, man, I like the work they do, give us some support. That's all. Give us a little support. $6 a month for the Patreon page. Again, it's patreon.com/JazzNation. Or if you're waiting, if you just want to see the free version, again, tomorrow on the YouTube page and on the podcast platforms. Podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Google, and Anchor FM. And it'll be free tomorrow, but with ads and some questions cut out. All right. I am just rambling on at this point. Again, my name's Daniel, admin of all those Jazz Nation pages. You can find the links for all our Jazz Nation pages at linktree.com/Jazz Nation News. Thanks so much for joining in for today's Jazz Nation Daily. Hope you guys have a great Monday, and bye-bye.